a situation where they really have tried to convince us all that this, they'd never rebuild. Well, what they're doing right now is just, again, what we've talked in. And again, I read a tweet where somebody was sort of making fun of the way that the Pirates went about their business. But to be honest, this is the kind of thing that Neil Huntington used to do. He used to try and slop together just enough of a lineup that they could somehow find a way to go 500 or, very close to 500 or whatever. Maybe even slop together, 81 wins. And then when ultimately a number of the guys would basically just not be that good and not be able to figure it out and, play like you think they're going to play, and so the Pirates would win 70 games, he would come up with all kinds of reasons and excuses as to why it didn't work. Steelers are doing the same thing here. All they're trying to do is slop together a team that they feel like can maybe possibly win, 8 or 9 games. That's what they're trying to do. Maybe they can, and then if they a couple things go their way, they get a couple bounces of ball their way, well, then, hey, well, we can go, now we get 9 or 10, wins, and now all of a sudden we're in a different situation altogether, aren't we? Right? I just think it's kind of ridiculous. So I feel like when we really, examine what happened this offseason, I just don't get why they are, doing what they're doing. They have money. They have money. Here we go. Breaking news. You ready for this? Mason Cole, a center, Cardinals and Vikings, said he plans on signing a 3-year deal with your Steelers. Do we know anything about Mason Cole? Bill. Here we go. Arizona Cardinals, 3rd round pick of 2018. Signed him to a 4-year, $3 million deal. Was named the Cardinals starting center in 2018. Entered as a backup interior lineman in 2019, which tells you everything you need to know about how he played center. Traded to the Vikings in exchange for a 6th round pick. Started at center for 4 weeks. Then took over the right guard spot for 3 games. Placed on injured reserve. Sounds exciting. Wonderful. I mean, it is, hang on, I got to tweet about it, right? I got to tweet about it. I mean, I just don't even know what they're doing at this point. I really don't. We're sitting here talking about Mason Cole and Chooks Okorafor to upgrade an offensive line that stunk. I'm having fun with it. I am, Bill, believe it or not, having fun with it, but I don't get what we're doing. I don't. I just don't get what we're doing. So it is basically, a It is basically not a good day, I don't think, for the Steelers. They're not spending money on guys that make sense. And I would tell you, a thing about a guy like Mitch Trubisky, I understand why you sign him. Let's get back to him for a minute. If you're going to sign a quarterback to compete for your starting, if you're going to, go get for a start, your starting position, you want to bring someone in who you don't have to pay a lot of money to, who can compete, you might as well take a shot at a guy like Mitch Trubisky, who was a first-round pick, who's had some level of success, not a lot, but some, who might be able to, hey, right place at the right time, and all of a sudden, hey, the team around him is better, the organization is better, he's a little more mature. Next thing you know, it happens for him. That can happen. I'm okay. I'm okay with that. I really am. But please, let's not do this thing where, they've got to get better. It's got, they've got to do better and figure out how to, you got to figure out how to get some better offensive linemen in here and make your team better. Otherwise, I would be okay with stripping it down a little bit and not being afraid of losing games, if that's what it takes. And I'm just going to tell you, everyone's so afraid of that around here. Everyone's so afraid of that. It's amazing to me. And I don't know why. If you just sort of slum around the middle for 5, 6, 7 years, you're drafting in the middle, and I don't know that you're ever getting better, but you're not necessarily getting worse. It just is a weird place to be for a long, long time. And I could see a situation where the Steelers do that. I could. Where for the next 5 or 6 years, they're basically a team that every year does this, where they just try and piece together a lineup that's just quite good enough to maybe make a push for the playoffs if everything goes right, but not really. It just, to me, it's not the way to go about it. It really isn't. I think the thing about Mitch Trubisky is that at least makes a little bit of sense because, and we don't know how much they're paying him, but because if you think about it, it's a cheap gamble on a position that you need to gamble on. And the other part of it is, if you take a guy like him for a 2-year deal, it's not going to cost a lot of money. You know what happens? You can draft. You could still draft Malik Willis. You could still go out and do that. So it's important to remember that. You could still go and draft a guy like Malik Willis or even Kenny Pickett if you had, that situation put together where you bring in Mitch Trubisky and him and Mason Rudolph, you have them battle for a couple of years or a year and a half or a year while you get your rookie guy ready to play. And then you're not throwing your rookie guy into, a tough situation. Between Trubisky, who let's say he makes $8-9 million a year, you've got, I think Mason's going to make $4 or $5 million a year, whatever it is. Your rookie guy, you're talking probably still under $20 million for your entire quarterback position. That's the big thing. So now it's important that you understand that. you can go out and do that and sign you can still draft a rookie. And it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. But I just don't know that I like the idea of, bringing in just a bunch of guys that you hope that you can slop together enough to be 8 or 9 wins. And if you're 8 or 9 wins, you can say, well, we're close. You see that? 1 or 2 bounces of the ball and we're in the playoffs. And once we get in the playoffs, anything can happen. It just doesn't make sense to me. But that's the Steelers, to me, what's going to happen. That's what the Steelers is going to happen with Trubisky and Mason Rudolph. They're going to battle each other this year. I'm assuming that Trubisky is going to be, in my mind, I'm assuming Trubisky is going to be the starter. But here's the other thing. What if Mason Rudolph beats him out? Legitimately beats him out. Then what? Then what happens? The Steelers would get absolutely crushed for that. I think people, are interested at least in giving this a chance to work. But I don't know if a lot of people are really all that excited about it. So we'll see. Now we know what the offseason, how it started. And I'm not sure there's a whole lot left that could happen that would really make people all that excited. Maybe get a receiver of some note or go out and get a guard of some note and go and do the best they could do to, just sort of reinforce the defense. I don't know. But if you're telling me the big moves this offseason are going to be Mitch Trubisky and getting Alualu and Tuitt back, I'm telling you that's not a good offseason.